So let's talk presidential politics here. We saw an ad just go out from Vice President Biden this morning, I believe it is. Haven't heard a whole lot from Mr. Biden recently. How has Mr. Biden's campaign affected how the Trump campaign is trying to get its own message out to the public?
I think it's if you look at first of all, it's nice to see Joe Biden actually come out. At least we know who we're running against with the vice president. But when you look at it, it's also where he stands. His commercials also show the contrast between the president, who has built the greatest economy we've ever known in the history of America, and we're going to do it again because of the coronavirus. But more importantly, it's a law and order. Where Joe Biden stands with people, he says, they're just having a peaceful demonstration in Seattle. And then you actually see on the news that people there are people that are dying. You have buildings that are being burned. You have police officers being assaulted. And, it shows the contrast of what it's like to have a law and order society where we all benefit and we're all safe versus someone who's going to let the crowd, the mobs run the country.
Speaking of crowds, it's been hard for President Trump to have his rallies. He had a couple of them, obviously, but circumstances are making that challenging. We know it's happening with the convention as well. How detrimental is that to your efforts?
I think when you look at it, what we've built here, we have the largest ground game we've ever assembled in history of the state of Nevada. We're 1-1 with the RNC. We're 1-1 with the Trump campaign. So we've been blessed to have in our state the messaging that's been able to go out. We have the strong leadership from the Trump campaign and from the RNC. Our chairwoman has been very, very supportive. So what that allows us to do is obviously we love to have the big rallies. I mean, that's something that the president's phenomenal at, and he's great at it. There's no one better. But more importantly, the one-on-one contacts. We've had 1.5 million voter contacts in this state, and we're growing. It's something where you look at it, even with the donor list. We have 4,000 unique donors of people that have never contributed to a campaign or that are $200 less campaign contributors, 4,000 more than Joe Biden. So we're reaching them on different levels. It took us 24 hours to go from an active campaign to a virtual campaign the minute the pandemic came out. But we're working within the guidelines. I mean, we respect what's going on, and we'll have to work with whatever we're given. But more importantly, this campaign, I think, the presidential campaign, has taken to another level that we're able to reach voters on any level we have to.
You mentioned before the protests, Seattle, Portland. I think there was an incident in Denver as well. There have been a couple around the country. Most of the protests have been largely peaceful, but obviously the violence is worth noting. Does the federal police usage in those cities enhance the president's campaign, his stance on law and order, or is it just putting more fuel on the flames?
Well, I don't know. It's not even a political issue. I think it's his duty as president to put these people, the law enforcement in there, because we have mayors and governors that are allowing a society to run amok. When you allow buildings to be burnt, statues to pull down, you have shop owners. It's almost like it's the 1920s and the mobs running it, where they're now the shop owners are having to pay homage and pay money to the people so they won't have their businesses destroyed. That type does not work in America. And for them to say it's a peaceful demonstration is a joke. It's not a peaceful demonstration. Not when you have that. When I was on the Police Officers Association, we worked with everybody. We worked with people when they were demonstrating. We went on the streets with them. We wanted to make sure that you're able to have your First Amendment rights. But being thrown, we have bottles being thrown at them. We have water being dumped on them. You have one police officer that was burned. They're throwing homemade Molotovs at him. That's not a society, because eventually what's going to happen is you're going to see common citizens start taking up arms to protect their own properties and protect their businesses. And that's a society that Joe Biden wants to provide, where you're going to have common citizens protect their own property. And we can't have that in America.
Is that in his platform? I don't remember seeing him say that, or his campaign.
Well, if he's endorsing this type of mob mentality, and he's providing this lawlessness, and for anybody that would look at Seattle and say it's a peaceful demonstration, is either so blind or he's still stuck somewhere. He's not seeing he's out of touch with America, because what has to happen is a common citizen is going to have to protect their family. They got to protect their own property. And if we don't have it coming from the mayors and governors, the president had to step in. It's a bad situation we're in America right now, that we have this type of mentality that's taking place.
Police reform, social justice, racial injustice, and inequality. The president has addressed this after the death of George Floyd and the protests that came from that. How committed is President Trump to actually bringing about some level of reform on a federal level with police departments nationwide?
Well, he's very committed. I mean, look, I was blessed to be born and raised in Las Vegas. And so, we have a great police department here. It's multicultural. The neighborhood I grew up in was multicultural. So it projects what Nevada looked like, what Las Vegas looked like, I should say. And I think what Joe Lombardo's done has been a phenomenal job of making sure that the police are protected, but also that they have to be partners with the community. The president has the same approach. The president has always looked that he is for the police. He's against any corrupt cop. He doesn't stand for people to be abused by a police officer, to people that have the justice go against them. But you have to at least respect the police and work with the police in your community to make it safer. So, the type of reforms, the neck holds and things, I think that have been taught, lateral vascular restraints, as they call them, LVNR. We did away with that, I believe, a long time ago in Las Vegas. But items like that are being taught, if applied right, great. But when they're not applied right, you see what happens. No one I spoke with ever thought that what happened to the gentleman that was the guy standing on his neck.
George
That's
Floyd.
Disgusting. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's disgusting. And I was the first one to come out and condemn it. That's not policing. That's not how police work is done.
All right, so then let's, the president is in office now. Obviously, there's a lot going on. We understand the coronavirus and so forth, but why not incorporate or try and get Congress to go through some police reforms now? What's the holdup?
Well, I think they're trying to work hand in hand, but also the Democrats, if you give them an inch, they want to do away with policing all the way around. You've seen where some Democrats just say, look, we want to defund the police, we want to move forward. So there's no balance where the minute the president is able to start talking and working with the police unions and working with police officers and police sheriff stations and say, look, we need to move forward on some type of reform, the Democrats immediately go right to, we need to defund the police. So there has to be some type of common ground. They've done it time and time again against this president where he tries to reach across the aisle and he gets beaten with the olive branch.
You don't think it goes the other way too?
I'm pretty sure that after you get beaten so long that eventually you have to defend your stance and respect your goals in order to make America great.
We talk about the coronavirus. The economy in Nevada is struggling. We've got maybe the highest, if not one of the highest unemployment rates in the country right now. We know the $600 a week program is about to run out. How is the president going to make sure that Americans don't get forced out of their houses, don't lose all their money, don't lose everything, and especially here in Nevada where we're kind of on a razor's edge right now?
Very much so. I'm glad you brought it. Look, we practice the mask. I lost a friend a couple weeks ago personally, a very close friend of mine that passed away from the coronavirus, so it's taken very seriously. When you look at it from where we're sitting right now, it's very difficult because we've had such corruption inside the funds that came in here with the unemployment, which was staggering, that the people came in and took advantage of it for people that really need it. In discussions with the White House, they're on top of it. They know that people are trying to be able to, especially in Las Vegas and Nevada, since we live on an economy of tourism, that it's vitally important to make sure that it's a safe destination, but more importantly, that we're watching and we're leading by example. And we're wearing the mask, washing our hands. I think that is something that will get people back to come into Las Vegas. Importantly, though, is how do we get from that point to where we are now? And I think when you look at what the president's able to try to provide, where we have some type of, I hate to say stimulus, but it is a stimulus, that's not under corruption, that's not under examples where people take the money that don't need it. So it's something where I know he cares about Nevada more than, I hate to say this, but he cares about this almost as much as he does Florida or New York, where he lives. He's been very, very bullish about Nevada. He loves Nevada. But the answer is, as far as what's coming out of Congress and out of his leadership in the White House, there will be some type of help here.
Final question here. I wanted to ask about immigration. It wasn't that long ago, I think a couple of weeks, the president said he was going to sign an executive order regarding DACA, and then he would say he left it up to Congress. It's kind of been some back and forth on that. How does that confusing messaging, does that hinder or help his efforts to reach out to the Latino community, to other minority communities in the country?
Oh, he's heavily involved. We just opened our Latino office, our Hispanics for Trump office this weekend. It was phenomenal, great turnout. We've had that type of involvement. Look, it's all about being, again, I'll go back to the original when I say it's about a lawful society. He wants to reach out and give everybody an opportunity as long as it's done the right way. And I think that as we start to move down and work, if they can get back together with Congress and we'll be able to come together with something that will provide it, it'll be a path that will allow everybody to have an opportunity. So, the messaging that's coming back and forth, depending what law comes across his desk, I'll leave that up to the White House to decide. But I know like I said, I was born and raised here. I have people that are in DACA that are friends of mine. And if you live in Las Vegas, I'm pretty sure we all do. And you want to see it done the right way where they have an opportunity. We have friends of mine that are actually DACA that fought for America, and they were in the military. So when you have things like that, there's definitely an example.
But perhaps presumably you're going to appreciate the confusion that there's been with not only the rulings at the Supreme Court level, but some of the messaging that's come out of the White House regarding immigration, regarding DACA, issues at the border. There's a lot of things coming at this specific issue. It seems like if I was a voter, I might be confused.
Well, I think when you try to put something across, I go back to when the president's trying to work with Congress, and we've never had a great relationship with this Congress. Obviously, Nancy Pelosi likes to make up names and come together and try and find the right solution. It's something where we have to be able to come down with a law that will provide clear leadership in the sense from Congress working with the president. And that's been the problem. Yes, it's very confusing. Like I said, I tell you here, I was born and raised here. If I had the answers, I'd be back in D.C., not here. But more importantly, there has to be some type of true meaning coming to the community rather than bantering back and forth.
I'm out of questions.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the time, Michael, and I'm sure I'll chat with you later on as we get closer to Election Day.
Yeah, please. Hopefully someday I'll be able to come see you. I'll wear the mask.
I know. When it's allowed, then we'll make it happen.
No, but hey, just be safe. Like I said, I had someone I lost who was very close and
yeah.
So just be careful, John.
You too, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Take care. Bye.